All right, it's that time. So, welcome to Breastfeeding Basics. We are going to cover everything that you need to know about how to breastfeed successfully. As new parents, it's difficult to know what to do, even if you're well prepared. So, we have an amazing nurse and lactation consultant here with us today that's going to cover all of the things that you need to know from the first moment of your baby's life and beyond. We'll get into that in just a second. And then we'll have plenty of time to answer any questions that you might have. We're also going to cover just a little bit about Leva and what we do here and how we help new moms. So Leva was founded to support new moms every single step of the way. We offer 360-degree support for new parents, from breastfeeding to formula feeding to bottle feeding. If you need to track anything, it's available in our app. So you can determine how much you're pumping, you can determine how much your baby is drinking, you can track your baby's diapers, and you can also listen to mindfulness meditations while you're doing this, which puts you into the right state for supporting milk flow and making sure that you're decreasing your risk of postpartum anxiety and depression. We have 250 plus backed scientifically researched articles. We're adding literally every single new articles every single new week. We have mindfulness meditations. We have on-demand videos that talk to you about career balance, that talk to you about mental wellness, that help you with positioning for your baby's latch, constantly covering new stuff. So we also have support in the app for one-on-one help live with our lactation consultants, career counselors, mental wellness, sleep, and physical fitness support. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Laura Silvas, who is our amazing nurse and lactation consultant. She can help with any questions that you have. And so she's going to cover right now the basics of breastfeeding.
Hello, thank you, Vanessa. So as she mentioned, my name is Laura. I am a IBCLC and an RN. My background is in labor and delivery. I did that for about 7.5 years, and I've been a lactation consultant for 5, and it is absolutely my passion. So I'm really excited that you're here, and hope that you learn a lot and feel a little bit more comfortable going into your breastfeeding journey, or if you're already in your journey, that we can get all your questions answered and get you on the right track. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and start into the composition of breast milk. As you know, they always say breast is best, and they said that for a reason, right? Your breast milk is specifically tailored for your baby, and it's made by your body for your baby. So what could be better for your baby than what your body is already creating? It's composed of a lot of different ingredients. It's actually 90% water. So if you can imagine that, only 10% of the other factors of breast milk go into the other nutritional part. But that is one big reason why even during the middle of summer, a lot of babies don't need water, including breastfeeding babies. And that kind of always shocks the grandparents, right? They're always like, give the baby some water. But at that point, you're giving them 90% water, and you're giving them everything they need by giving your breast milk. It also contains lipids and a spectrum of live bioactive agents. Now, these are just elements that affect different functions in your body. Your breast milk is also going to contain stem cells and a range of hormones that all play an important role in your baby's development. Additionally, breast milk is composed of both fore milk and hind milk. We're going to cover that in a little bit further detail here in just a bit. So as I mentioned, the lipids or fats, those make up about 4% of your breast milk, but provide around half of the calories that your baby needs from your milk. So these are a good source of energy, cholesterol, and essential fatty acids. These are all really essential and necessary for the development of your baby's brain, nervous system, and vision. The next big part is the carbohydrates. We all love carbs, right? Carbs are the main energy source that comes in your breast milk. One interesting fact is that human milk contains more lactose than cow's milk, and it's actually the preferred energy source for your brain. Next big thing is proteins. We all know that protein is essential for growth and development for not only infants, but for us as well. So protein, of course, is there in your milk, because why wouldn't it be? This is an essential part and helps to build strength and repair your body's tissue. Those bioactive components that we talked about earlier, those are found in abundance in breast milk, and they're passed on from you, mom, to your baby. These include antibodies, which are going to help fight illnesses and disease and help to build up your baby's immune system. So you always hear about, If you get a cold, you breastfeeding and you're passing that immunity onto your baby. And that's why it's really essential that if you are fighting any illnesses, you continue to breastfeed. If you ever have any questions about, I'm sick or I have this going on, should I continue to breastfeed? Please reach out to us because we would love to be able to help you navigate that. The other thing that you're passing on from you are hormones. So these are going to be essential in promoting growth, development, and help to regulate your baby's metabolism, blood pressure, pain responses, and influence their growth. Enzymes are also abundantly found in your breast milk. These have many important functions. Again, immune support, which is huge, aiding digestion. So this is going to help to break down the fats and proteins so that they can be correctly absorbed by your baby's body, and then help with your infant development. There's also micronutrients, including vitamins and minerals that can include anywhere from vitamin A, B, C, all of those things. Minerals are required to ensure that your baby's body grows healthy and strong. And then, of course, these are going to help to prevent any other issues against red blood cells or any bone issues, nerve and muscle function, all of those. Now, the next part, I don't know if we have any pumping moms on here, but if you have ever pumped and you kind of let your milk set in the fridge or even out on the counter for a bit, you might have started to notice your milk kind of separate into two different layers. That is your foremilk and your hindmilk. So your foremilk is the first part of the milk that comes out whenever you're breastfeeding. This is thin, it's watery, it's sweet, it encourages your baby to suckle faster. And then about mid-feeding, towards the end, you will have hind milk come down. So when you've pumped, or if you've ever expressed milk, you might have noted that separation. That fat, creamy layer at the top is that hind milk, okay? So that hind milk contains obviously the higher fat content. So that's why it's really important that, not necessarily with every feeding, but with multiple feedings throughout the day, that you're ensuring that your baby's getting a long time at the breast to be able to ensure that they're getting that fat content. So this is the kind of brief basics composition of breast milk. I feel like we could cover this topic forever because we're always researching and finding out more details about just truly how wonderful and how amazing breast milk is. It's called liquid gold for a reason. I am 100% sure that it will cure cancer one day. But that is all that I kind of had written on that. If there are any questions, please make sure that you're writing those down. And I want to make sure that we cover all of your questions here at the end. We're going to have plenty of time. And then even if you forget to write it down or you have to step away for a second, this is being recorded. And so we can kind of refer back to it later if you need to as well. The next part that we're going to cover is called colostrum. So colostrum is the first part of your milk that your body actually starts creating at 12 to 18 weeks during your pregnancy, which is kind of just mind-blowing if you think about it. So a lot of this very early pregnancy, all of these hormones, you might just finally be getting over the morning sickness and your body's already thinking about and starting to create milk for your baby. So your colostrum, I always say, think of it like a protein bar. So if you skipped lunch that day and you just got a protein bar, you got protein, you got calories, you got everything you needed to kind of sustain your day, just in a smaller package. And that's exactly what your colostrum does for your baby. So your colostrum is present from 12 to 18 weeks, depending on your pregnancy, if it's your first baby, second baby. Even if you don't notice it leaking, I promise it's there. And then it's there until your milk comes in, okay? And we'll talk about that a little bit later on too. But your colostrum can range from colors. So it can be yellow, clear, white, orange, brown, sometimes even black. We've seen it all. And it's often very thick and sticky. We love colostrum for your baby because it's very nutrient rich. Again, high protein, low fat, and digestible liquid. It's very high in minerals, salt, vitamin A, nitrogen, those white blood cells that we love to give our baby, and antibodies. So again, think of it as your baby is getting everything it needs, just in a tiny little amount. Your colostrum also is packed with immune boosting cells to help them, again, fight any infections. And it also has a laxative effect. So whenever your baby first is born, if you've ever had a baby before, you know they have that beautiful, disgusting, thick, tarry-like poop, right? That's their meconium. And that colostrum is very critical as it helps to move that meconium out of their bowels. Okay, your colostrum is also going to be in your milk for about the first month to help in aiding and getting all of that out of their bowels and helping to establish regular bowel movements, which is one way that we know that babies are getting enough is by their diaper counts. It's really important to remember that at the time of the delivery, your baby's stomach is only the size of a bead, so this big. And with that being said, if you think about how much colostrum it takes to fill that bead, then it should make you feel better about how much your baby is taking and what your body is doing, and you should be proud of that. A lot of times I feel that people think, I'm not making much, so my baby's still hungry, or my baby is going to breast a lot and wanting to nurse a lot, so they must not be getting a lot. But if you remember back to what we were discussing now, their stomachs are small, the colostrum is a laxative, and so it's going to pass through their body quickly. They're going to metabolize it faster because it's natural, and then they're going to be hungry sooner. So this is one reason that breastfed babies eat more frequently than formula-fed babies. The other thing is if we add formula in at the beginning during this colostrum phase, it takes that really small stomach and it stretches it. And then the baby isn't as satisfied at breast because then they're not getting as much quantity. And then we kind of see this trickle effect. So it's really important that you understand how colostrum plays an effect into not only your baby's diet, but into your milk supply going on later. If you are pregnant and you're interested in learning more about colostrum or even antenatal expression of colostrum, so during your third trimester, closer to delivery, you're wanting to learn about hand expression, storage of colostrum, please make an appointment with me in the app. Okay, so that will be the conclusion of our colostrum section. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to write them down. And the next, we're going to talk about the starting of your breastfeeding journey. And we've kind of already broached subject with that there, with us talking about the colostrum. However, I did want to mention with the start of your breastfeeding journey, it's really imperative that you remember that the more that you feed, the faster your milk will come in. So it's never going to be wrong to put your baby to breast. So after birth, you want to put your baby to breast within that first 1 to 2 hours. Now, we know it's not always immediately possible. Let's say you had a C-section or you're having a repair done. There are things that happen, but we really want that baby to latch within the first 60 minutes after delivery. This is going to trigger a reaction in your body to start the production of your breast milk. During pregnancy, the hormone progesterone prevented the hormone prolactin from initiating milk production. So once your baby is born, your placenta is delivered, and then progesterone levels drop dramatically within days of birth. This drop increases your prolactin levels and milk production starts in full force. So within the first 2 to 4 days after birth, your breast will start to be very full, very heavy, and sometimes even firm. And then within passing days, your milk starts to gradually mature. So when your milk comes in, it's typically anywhere from that day 2 to day 5 postpartum stage. However, it can be sooner. I've seen it both ways, or it can be later. So if you've had underlying conditions in pregnancy, so let's think about things like hypertension, high blood pressure, even before your pregnancy, or something that developed in pregnancy, or preeclampsia, pregnancy-induced hypertension, diabetes, including gestational diabetes, PCOS, smoking, a postpartum hemorrhage, and sometimes even C-sections or long inductions can all affect these things. So the more that you're stimulating your body helps to combat all of those things that can slow your milk coming in. And so we want to keep the baby at rest as frequently as possible. Allowing your baby to latch frequently helps your receptor sites to build up in your breast so that you have a better milk supply later on. And we'll touch a little bit on that later on as well. Now, whenever your baby is latching, we want to make sure that they're getting a good latch, right? So in order to stimulate their suck reflex, we don't want the nipple just going directly into their mouth. And I think that's a big issue that I typically see, especially in hospital, is moms are just trying to get the nipple into the baby's mouth because baby's sleepy, especially those first 24 hours. And so what we want to do is we want to do lots of skin to skin, because then that's going to help baby to wake up to the smell of the milk. It's kind of like when you're driving by a restaurant and you smell the food and you're like, yeah, I could eat, right? Let's go get some food. It's the same concept. They are at the breast. They're getting their vital signs stabilized by doing skin to skin and their blood sugars. And then they're waking up to the smell of the milk, and it's going to make it easier for you to latch your baby. So in order to stimulate the suck reflex, your nipple has to be far enough back into their mouth and the palate of their mouth. That is where a baby's suck reflex is, not in the middle of their tongue and not in the middle of their mouth. So if your nipple isn't deep enough in the baby's mouth, it's not going to stimulate that reflex, and your baby may just stay sleepy and not really get any milk out. It also is going to lead to decreased milk ejection and sore nipples. And we all know that we don't want that. Suck training can also be performed to help stimulate the infant. If you're interested in learning how to do that, again, please let us know. We're happy to walk you through that. So when we're latching our baby, we want to do tummy to tummy. This is always going to be the same no matter how you have your baby positioned. So across the body, football, all of those. We'll have a picture here in just a second to show you, but we want belly to belly and nipple to nose. That is going to ensure that your baby is reaching up and over the nipple instead of just going directly into the nipple. So again, if this is your baby's mouth and this is the nipple, you want to go up so that you're stimulating the palate versus directly in the middle. Always bring your baby to your breast and not the breast to your baby. I see it all the time where moms are hunched over feeding their babies. Use pillows, use boppies, use the My Breast Friend pillow, use whatever you have around, rolled up blankets, towels. It doesn't have to be anything fancy to help bring the baby up and keep it elevated so that you're comfortable. You are going to be breastfeeding your baby every couple of hours with hunger cues. So what that means is babies bring in his or her hands to her mouth, licking their lips, rooting around. All of these are the signs of, hey, mom, I'm ready to eat. We want to latch with those signs previously before they start crying, because that's actually a late hunger sign and it's harder to get them latched. So if we can get them latched before that, it's going to be a lot easier for not only them, but for you as well. So if you are latching every couple of hours with hunger cues and you're bent over, your back is going to become very sore very quickly. So just always remember to bring your baby up to your breast and not your breast down to your baby. Okay, so we're going to look at a couple of different positions because I feel like this is really imperative for a good breastfeeding demonstration. Let this load here. So in this first image, off to the left, the woman with the orange shirt, she kind of has her baby in a cross cradle, almost football type hold. So with a football hold, the baby is off to the side, okay? Belly to belly, nipple to nose. Now, I love a cross cradle and I love a football hold for first time moms and moms who just delivered for multiple reasons. One, you're not pushing your baby's head in. And two, I feel like it gives them a better ability to hold the baby and control the breast a bit better. So if you look at the second picture there, she's kind of holding the baby here and here, and then she doesn't really have any hands to control her breast, right? So if you have larger breasts or even smaller breasts and you're needing to manipulate your breast tissue to be able to get it to baby, that's not a very well hold that I would suggest for you. The sideline position is the third position, and I love that one for a mom who's a little bit more advanced or she's a little bit more comfortable in breastfeeding. Maybe it's not your first baby and you have a successful history doing it previously. But with a football or a cross cradle position, I want your hand behind the baby's head on either side of their ears. So pretend that the baby's ears are here. Your hand is going to be down their neck and holding between their shoulder blades. This is going to ensure that the baby stays in position and also feels supported. Now, when we latch the baby, we want the baby looking up, right? When you take a drink, you don't tilt your head down, you tilt your head up. We want the same thing for them. We also want them to be belly to belly, nipple to nose, as we said earlier. If they're facing outwards instead of facing you, they're going to have to turn their head. And imagine if you had to turn your head and eat for 10 or 15 minutes at a time. It wouldn't be very comfortable for you either. Then, if you're holding with the same hand that you're holding the baby with, your opposite hand, will be able to control the breast. So if baby is here in football hold, you have your hand to hold the breast here. Or if baby is across in cross cradle, let me fix this, then you have this hand to manipulate the breast there. It can take time. Be patient with yourself. And just because a certain position did well for you the first time doesn't mean it's going to happen the next time. Sometimes babies prefer one side or the other. That's completely normal as well. And then also just know that it is okay to change positions every now and then, because that helps to facilitate drainage of the breast in all different areas. Your baby's going to drain the breast where their chin is pointed out. And so if you have any clogged ducts or areas of concern, you can also aim their chin towards that area and switch up your position there too. Okay, so that was a brief little interesting topic for us on getting a good latch. I also want to briefly mention to make sure that you're looking at how your baby is at the breast. Is their chin touching the breast? And then also, is their lips flanged out? I always say think duck lips, not grandpa lips. Everybody laughs, but they remember that, because if the lips are flanged out, then they're able to pull on both the areola and the nipple and facilitate milk drainage from those milk glands in the breast. If their lips are tucked under, then they're not going to be able to have a good latch. You'll notice suck blisters, sore nipples, and then maybe not transferring as well either. And so we definitely want to make sure that their lips are flanged around the areola and nipple as well. It doesn't always have to be the full areola. Everybody has different anatomy, but just make sure that you're taking a good look at that. Again, we breastfeed, not nipple feed. All right. And then the last subject that we have today is the first month and how to build your supply. So we kind of talked about at the beginning, setting up that realistic expectation that baby is going to feed very frequently. Every 2 to 3 hours is kind of the guideline, right? We want to make sure that we're hitting those checkpoints. A breastfed baby should never go past 4 hours of feeding, but every 2 to 3 is kind of what we aim for. However, it's truly best if you're feeding with hunger cues. If you think about a baby who's at rest, they sometimes may pull a little bit, and the next time they may pull more. You make the most milk in the mornings, and so your baby may take more amount in the morning from you than in the evening when you make less milk. So it's always best to feed your baby when they're showing you those hunger cues. Now, because of this, if we're doing this in the beginning, then we are building those receptor sites that we talked about earlier on. So at the end of the first month, your milk will fully be mature. Although this mature milk is different from your colostrum, it has everything it needs to fulfill your baby's needs. So the more it feeds, the more milk you make. That includes pumping. So moms, if you're going back to work, the more you pump, the more milk you're going to make. This is known as supply and demand. It's critical not to skip feeds and to empty your breast frequently. I see it all the time where moms are skipping feeds. They want to sleep a little bit extra during the night, or they decided to give baby a bottle and not pump during that time. And then they come in and they say, Laura, I need help. My supply is gone. That supply and demand has a lasting effect. So if we start dropping those feeds, what I'm always going to suggest back to you is to increase those feeds back. There are different things out on the market that can help to increase your milk supply. However, we have to fix the baseline issue before we start adding in extra things. If you give your body something to make more milk, but you're not emptying the milk in a timely manner in the way that you should be, it's not going to be effective. So make sure that you're relying on that supply and demand, and that you're emptying your breast every time your baby is feeding. All right. That is all that I have for you guys. I hope that you learned something. I hope that that was helpful. I feel like I could just sit here and talk to you about breastfeeding until I was 90 years old, but I wanted to kind of give you a quick few basic tips, and we'll open it up to a Q&A and then kind of go from there.